In this video, we're going to go over a ton of tips and tricks specifically for hooded eyes or for eyes that have sagging lids. You're going to learn a ton of tips and techniques and product recommendations that you can use to get a more lifted look around the eye. Let's get started. So let's go ahead and get started. I do have makeup on, but I have avoided putting any makeup around the eye area, and that includes underneath the eye. As a last tip to this tutorial, I'm going to teach you guys how to give yourself a natural little eye lift, so make sure you stick around for the end. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the first tip, which is priming the eyelid. Now, this is a step that I never skip, whether you have hooded eyes or you have big, wide open eyes. It doesn't matter. I always recommend applying an eyeshadow primer. Now, if you particularly have hooded eyes or eyes that have a lot of sagging skin or a lot of crepiness or a lot of texture to the eyelids, I do want to recommend a product that you can do in lieu of an eyeshadow primer. It'll actually kind of work as an eyeshadow primer as well, or you can do it before your eyeshadow primer. I'm going to be using it before my eyeshadow primer. It is from City Beauty, and I did team up with them for this portion of the video. I love City Beauty. You guys know I love their City lip plumpers. They are one of my favorites. I talk about them all the time, but they also have an assortment of skincare products, and I've been really excited to test this out. I've been using it for the last few days. This is the lid lifting treatment, and this is particularly for eyelids that have like sagging skin. It gives an instant appearance of lift to the eyelid. It also smooths out texture on the eyelid, and it hydrates. It can be used underneath makeup or it can be used alone. It has a thicker consistency to it. It actually has the consistency of like an eyeshadow primer, so it's really, really nice. You just need a little bit on your fingertip, and I'm going to just work this in between my two fingers, and I'm going to spread it on my eyelids from my lashes all the way up to my brow. You know, the area on my eyelids that sag a little bit is just this little skin right here in the crease. So I'm going to just kind of focus it there, just press it onto the lid. If you do plan on putting makeup on top of it like we are today, you want to let it sit for about 60 seconds before you go in with makeup. So I'm just going to take my time. And this feels, you can instantly feel this smoothing the skin. It is so nice and instant. Perfect. So we're going to give this about 60 seconds. While that's drying, I do want to mention that right now City Beauty is having a 35% site-wide sale. So you can grab this product along with any other products on the website for 35% off, you guys. I'll have all the details in the description box below as well as the code right here. Okay, so now that that's dry, you could go right in with your eyeshadow. I'm actually going to put a primer on first. I love to use a primer that cancels out discoloration on the lid. Today we're going to be using the Danessa Myricks Color Fix in the nude shade. This is, I think this is nude 1. No, I'm sorry, this is nude 2. I also love the MAC Paint Pot Soft Ochre. You guys will see me use that a lot. That's probably my favorite. I couldn't find that today, so we're going to use this one right here. And why I love to use an eyeshadow primer that has a brightening effect like this does, you'll see as I apply this on the lid, it's going to just instantly brighten the eye and cancel out discoloration. Just creates a really even canvas for eyeshadow. And for hooded eyes, it's particularly great because it kind of gives you a blank canvas and it allows you to create your crease. It allows you to create the shape and kind of alter that crease, which is ultimately what we're going to be doing. Now you can use your finger. For this particular product, I'm going to use a brush because I really want to shear and like spread this out. So I'm going to apply it with the brush. Once I feel like it's on there, then I'll go back in with my finger and really kind of shear it out. And I'm going to pull this all the way up to the brow. I want to cancel out and brighten this entire space from the lashes up to the brow because this allows me, like I said, to go in and create a new crease. Perfect. Do you see that? Do you see the difference right here? How it instantly just cancels out discoloration and brightens the eye. Okay, let's go do the other eye. You'll see some people use concealer for this technique. I personally like more of a cream eyeshadow, something that is designed to set and stay in place. Concealers, they can work, but they can also be real creasy. So depending on the concealer formula, it's a little bit of a gamble. And with this particular product, you just need a tiny bit, you guys. If you overuse this product, you can just have too much. So you want to make sure you really just shear it out. Okay, so now that this is applied, one area I really want you to focus is make sure that you brought that eye primer underneath the brow. You want to lift the brow, and the best way to do that is to brighten and highlight that area. So we're going to make sure that we have that brow lifted. This is a great brush to do that. This is the BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy A502. Next, we're gonna go in and set this eyeshadow primer. We're just gonna use a sheer translucent powder. This is from NARS. This is the Soft Matte Advanced Perfecting Powder, and it's actually a touch-up powder for the face, but I'm just gonna use it to sweep this over that primer from the lashes to the brow. Now, this step really does matter, and I'll be honest, I'm guilty of not doing this all the time, but when I do this, I just get a really beautiful, flawless eyeshadow application. Okay, so now we have the eyelids prepped. I'm gonna go in and touch up my eyebrows. I already had a little bit of eyebrow on before I started this video, but eyebrows are really important, especially with a hooded eye makeup, because you wanna lift the brow to create more space between the lashes. If your brow hair is all growing down and you haven't taken the time to shape them and groom them into place, you're kind of taking up that precious real estate. You're making that space smaller between your lashes and your brow, and you really want to expand that. That's what we're trying to do. So I'm gonna go in as if I haven't already done my brows, and I'm gonna comb the brow hairs up, and I'm gonna go ahead and touch up the shape a little bit. I'm gonna go in with the Jane Iredale brow pencil, and I always like to sketch my brow hairs in an upward motion to again give that lift. The word for the day is lift. That's what we were trying to do. We were trying to lift the eyelid. And then right here at the arch, I'm going to kind of emphasize that arch a little bit again to create the illusion of a lift. Perfect. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do for the brows, I'm going to apply a brow gel to hold them in place and to secure those brow hairs. Perfect. Okay. All right. So the brows are done and they are shaped and lifted. Okay, so let's get into creating the crease. I first go in with my transition shade, and when you're looking for the perfect transition shade for you, you wanna look for a matte neutral eyeshadow that is a few shades darker than your skin tone. You don't want it to be too dark, but it needs to be dark enough to create some dimension. So I just grabbed these palettes from Jane Iredale. They look very similar, but they're slightly different, and they are all matte shades. Now, when I look at this palette here, there's really not a transition shade for me in here. The shades in here are just a bit too dark to be an ideal transition shade. So I'm gonna go into this one. Do you see this shade right here? This is like the perfect transition shade for me. It's a few shades darker, but it's not like really darker. You know, I might go in with this one in a bit to create some more definition, but to create the illusion of a crease, I need to go in with something that looks a little more subtle and more natural. So I'm gonna go in with this shade right here, and I'm taking the BK Beauty 212. It's a nice crease brush. It's fluffy. It's going to apply this in a really nice sheer manner. So it's not going to be real harsh and intense. I want it to look natural. What I'm trying to do here is to create the illusion of a fold in the skin that's a little higher. So what you want to do is you want to hold your mirror kind of directly in front of you. Don't look back. I mean, you can, but what we want to avoid doing here is applying this just in your natural crease. You want to use that as a guide, but ultimately you want the shadow to diffuse upward to give the illusion of a higher crease. Let me show you what I mean. So I like to look directly into the mirror, and I will start this kind of where my natural crease is, and I will kind of get that shape going, right? Create that shape. Do you see? Okay, so when I have this eye covered, if you're just looking at this eye, you don't see a lot of makeup, right? You don't really see that I have shadow on. But when you can compare the two eyes, you already see that this one has more definition, right? That's what you want it to be. You don't want it to be so obvious that you have eyeshadow on, but when you compare it to a side that doesn't have any, you can see that definition. So I'm gonna go back and forth. My pressure is very light here, you guys, and as you notice, I'm holding the brush kind of far back. I'm not real choked up on it. I have it far back, so I have a lot of range of motion with my hand, and I'm just gonna softly sweep that back and forth. Once I have most of the product onto the eye, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tilt my brush upside down. Do you see what I'm doing? So now what I'm doing is I'm using the tapered fibers on this brush to kind of diffuse that shadow upward, right? You want it to be a little bit higher to lift the eye. Okay, perfect. Do you see that? Do you see what we did? So again, when I cover this eye, it doesn't look like I have a lot of eye makeup, but when you remove it, then you can see, oh yeah, there's more definition there. So we're gonna go back and do the other side. Now, it's really important that you choose the right brush. You don't wanna choose a crease brush that's too small. Do you see? This is this brush that I use to apply the primer. You don't want to use a brush like that because it's going to really pick up and apply a lot of product, but it's not going to really blend it out as sheerly as you want it to. Okay, you want it to blend out sheerly. And I love the 212 because it has a little bit of a tapered tip, which means that the fibers at the center of the brush head are longer and the fibers on the outside of the brush head are shorter. So it's the perfect brush for doing this technique. Perfect brush. So put it in your crease, turn it upside down, and softly sweep it back and forth like a windshield wiper. So use your crease as a guide, but remember you want that shadow to fade upward. So now we're at a point where we can either apply the lid color or we can deepen up the outer corner and create a little bit more definition and drama if you choose. So let me show you how to do that. So now that we have the transition shade down, I'm going to add a little bit of a darker color right here in my outer corner and just like the outer fourth of my crease. I'm not going to take it all the way in. I'm going to be really careful about the placement. So I'm switching brushes. I'm moving over to the BK Beauty 211. Let me show you in comparison how it compares to the 212 so you understand. Do you see how the 211 is much tighter and more narrow? This is going to give me a lot more control, but I still have a fluffy tip, so I'll still be able to blend out the edges, okay? I'm not going to get as a diffused application as I have here. It's just really not possible with this brush, but what I am going to get with this brush is precision, and I'll get soft edges. So let's go in and deepen this up slightly. I'm going to go in and I'm going to take this shade right here. So to compare, let me show you. You could really go in with a darker shade if you want, but I don't want this eye look to be too dark. So I'm going to go in. This is the first shade we used right here, and I'm going to go with this shade right here. So it is like just a few shades darker than that. We're going to go in with this shade, and we're going to concentrate this right here on the outer corner. I'm just going to connect it to my lash line, and then I'm just going to softly work it back and forth in this little space right here. And I'm going to keep that pretty concentrated right here to this outer corner. Okay, lovely. Let's go in and do the other side. I love this brush for this little trick here. It's like the perfect size. It works on small eyes, it works on large eyes, it works on hooded eyes. It's really nice. Okay. So we've connected that crease, we've added a little more definition to the eyes. Do we see how we're creating more shape here? What this has done already is created this eyelid that looks like it's protruding more than it was when we started, right? We are creating definition and shape with shadow. I love makeup. Makeup is so fun, isn't it? It can really be used to just enhance your features, but also to kind of like slightly alter them a bit, right? I love it. It's fun. It's like art. All right, next we're going to go in and apply our eyelid color. Okay, so here we can use matte shadow if we want, or we can use a shimmer shadow. It really doesn't matter. This is really the time to use shimmer if you want to incorporate shimmer into your eye makeup when you're trying to create some definition in a larger looking eye. And particularly you want to keep that shimmer in the center of the lid. What that does is it reflects light, and not only does the lighter color reflect light, but the shimmer texture reflects light. So it creates this illusion of a protruding lid right there, like it's popping out, right? I'm going to go in with a matte shade. I'm just loving this all matte look, but I am going to incorporate some shimmer in here to show you how it also helps create more definition in the eye. So I'm going to go in with the BK Beauty 203. This is a really nice flat shader brush. It's kind of like your fingertip, but in a brush. And I'm going to go in with the shade right here. So we want to look for something lighter. We don't want to go in with something as dark or darker than what we've been using in the crease. We want this to contrast with the crease, right? And I'm going to just pack this all over, and I'm going to concentrate it in the area that we do not have shadow on. So in the inner corner, in the center of the lid, and right to about meet that outer corner. And you guys, this shadow is actually a little lighter. I feel like I need something to transition it to the darker shade. I mean, it looks okay, but just to have like a little bit more of a seamless look, I am going to go in with the shade we used for the transition, and I'm just going to use this to transition the two together. So I'll just kind of pop this right here. So we still have that contrast, but it just kind of seamlessly transitions a little bit better. There we go. Perfect. Oh, I love it. I love an all matte look. I think it's so classic and beautiful. Lovely. Okay, let me show you another trick that you can throw into your application that'll help create more definition and dimension to the eye. Take a little bit of a shimmer shadow. In this case, I'm using a shimmer highlighter. This is from Charlotte Tilbury. You can use any shimmer eyeshadow though. And take a small brush. I'm going to take the BK Beauty 209, and I'm going to load up the side of the brush with this product. And we're just going to pop this in the center of the eye, just right here at the lash line and up into the middle of the lid, right here. You could use like a glittery topper, you can use a metallic shadow, a foiled shadow. I'm going for a little bit more of a subtle look, but you can certainly, you know, amp it up with more of a metallic shadow if you want. Okay, and then the last place I'm going to put this is I'm going to put this in the inner corner of the eye on both sides. This just lights up that inner corner, really opens the eye up. So pretty. And I'm going to kind of bring it right underneath as well. Okay, let's talk about liner. Liner is so important with hooded eyes and how you do it. It could really make or break the entire eye look. Depending on how hooded your eyes are and how much lid you actually see when you're looking straight ahead, you might choose to adapt a different technique for eyeliner. I'm gonna go over a couple. So the first one that is probably the best if you have like no visible lid is to tight line the eyes. Now I always have to give this disclaimer when I'm talking about tight lining the eyes or lining the inner waterline because it's something that I didn't actually learn myself until a couple years ago. I struggle with dry eyes. I struggle with dry eyes. My eyes are always irritated. They're always red. They're very sensitive and it gets worse as I get older. And one thing I learned from my eye doctor is that putting eyeliner in the waterline or tight lining can clog the oil ducts that you have there that produce natural oils to lubricate your eye. So, you know, if you struggle with dry eye and your eyes are constantly irritated, I probably wouldn't do this technique, or I would use it very sparingly. I only do this for special occasions. I used to tight line all the time, but I don't anymore. Unfortunately, my little eyes can't take it. But bottom line is it's just one of the best techniques for hooded eyes. There are ways that you can tight line that aren't so obstructive to those oil glands by really just working it into the lashes. But tight lining is basically lining that little water line. I'm going to show you. We're going to do it right now. I'm doing it for the sake of education. I'm going to go in and line this. This is going to give some definition to my lashes, but it's not taking up precious real estate on my eyelid. Okay, that's what it's doing. And I'm using a dark chocolate bronze. You could obviously use black for more intensity, but do you see what this did? Compare the two eyes. You can see that definition at the lashes, but you don't see a line on the lid, okay? Now, if you don't want to go right into the tight line like I did, you can work this into the lashes similarly, but you're really just kind of working it onto the skin in the lashes. This is a little bit trickier to get as clean of a line, but this is an option too. Okay, let's say you don't want a tight line, you just want to avoid it altogether. What I would recommend for liner is to keep the liner really just here in the outer corner and keep it thin. Rest your pencil on the side and really rest it on the hair of your lashes and softly run it back and forth. Just little tiny strokes. Keep it thin, you guys. You don't want a big, thick eyeliner if you have hooded eyes. Do you see that? So I still have that definition, but it didn't take up a lot of my lid space. If you don't get that liner perfect, take a little angled brush. If you don't own this brush, this is a must, you guys. This is the BK Beauty 208, and it makes eyeliner so easy. So I'm just going to take this and just kind of run it over that eye pencil just to smooth it out and just kind of make it perfect. Another trick you can do, I'm full of eyeliner tricks today. Maybe I'll do a whole separate video just dedicated to eyeliner. If you want to see that, let me know down below. You can take this brush and take it directly to the product. So you don't even have to take a chunky eye pencil to the eye, which this, especially if you have no visible lid, this technique is great. Get this little brush, because the reason this is better than the eye pencil is because look at how tiny and thin that is. This gives you complete control. And then you just use this to line the eyes. You can also use this to pull out a little bit of a wing. Look at how easy that is. But it's all in the brush. You have to get the right brush. This is, and I know I'm biased because I'm the founder of BK Beauty and I made these brushes, but I think this is one of the best angle brushes for this technique because of how small it is. And even though it's stiff, it's very flexible. Sometimes you find these brushes and they're so stiff or they're really thick and you can't get as thin of a line with this. So let's go to the other side and we'll just do this technique on the other side first. So keep it just on the kind of outer third of the eye. Perfect. I love that. Okay, I'm going to go even everything out, so I'm going to go ahead and tightline this other side. Next, you want to curl your lashes. Now, this is honestly a step that I am trying to get better about doing because you guys, curling your lashes makes such a difference. Oh my goodness. I'm going to curl the lashes. This is just going to give obviously a lift to the lash, which is going to lift the eye, create a more open eye. And I'm going to go in and apply some primer, some mascara primer. I would recommend this for everybody, but particularly when you're trying to make the eyes look larger or more open. Amping up your mascara definitely serves your purpose. What I love about this formula is it actually conditions the lashes. So if you use this daily, along with a lash serum, you're going to notice your lashes are thicker and fuller and just have a more healthy appearance. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with mascara. I'm using the Jane Iredale Beyond Lash Mascara, and I'm really going to build this lash. So applying mascara, always apply it at the base and wiggle it back and forth and then sweep it up. It's the best way to get the most product onto the lash and just get the most dramatic effect from your mascara. And I like to just do a quick coat and then go to the other side before that lash primer has time to dry. I kind of work back and forth, back and forth. I kind of ping pong the lashes so that it doesn't have time to completely dry. I find once either the lash primer or that first coat of mascara is totally dry, it's really hard to work in an extra coat and separate the lash. So I'll just kind of go quickly and then I'll go back to the other side before it's completely dry and add one more coat. You really want to build these lashes up. This is really going to help create a very open, bright, wide eye look. Oh, I just love how this is all coming together. Do you see how big the eyes look in comparison to how we first started? Oh, I got a little mascara on the lid. Don't worry. We can always go back and fix that. You just have to have some patience and let it completely dry. Mascara is meant to adhere to hair, but not to skin. So let it dry and then you can go back and flake it off with your eyeshadow brush. Oh, I just love building mascara. I've been tempted to get my lash extensions back on, but then I'm like, the thought of not being able to apply mascara, I'm like, nope, 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 nope. I love it. I love mascara. Okay, so we're gonna let that mascara dry and let's move to the under eye area, the lower lash line and also the concealer. So if you have any fallout, you can always use an eye cream to kind of clean up the underneath the eye. You can also use a makeup wipe. I do want to mention that if you use a makeup wipe, that can be a little bit drying or can leave a little bit of a film, which can interfere with applying concealer or makeup immediately on top of it. So I always recommend using an eye cream, something hydrating to not only prep the skin underneath the eye, but also clean up. I'm going to go in with the Line Blurring Wrinkle Filler from City Beauty. This is very hydrating and it is essentially an eye cream that's going to blur texture, fine lines, wrinkles underneath the eye by plumping and hydrating them. So I'm just going to get a little bit. So what's really neat about this product is it has diamond powders in it, which are light reflective. So it really plumps up fine lines and texture, but also reflects light, giving a really beautiful radiant finish. I'm just going to do a nice little sheer layer of that, very smoothing. So oh, do you see that? I mean, it instantly brightens underneath the eye even before you put concealer on. So you can use less concealer. Oh, love that. The diamond powders also give a very diffused, kind of soft focus effect to it. Really, really nice. Okay, next we're going to go in with concealer, and I'm going to use the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. And I'm just going to use a little bit of it. I don't really need a lot. Now here's a trick. I always put concealer right in the inner corner, and then I always take it and kind of draw a line up. Now, especially if you've done your eye makeup like I have, this little technique right here is going to instantly like clean up and lift the eye. So if you've taken your eyeshadow over just a little too far, this will kind of clean it up and create a really nice, clean, I hate to use the word sharp because I think sharp's a little harsh, but you know how people will use Scotch tape to keep a really clean line? It's like a softer version of that, right? And I'm just gonna go and blend this out. Do I have my concealer brush? I don't have my perfect concealer brush, but I have the next best thing. I actually use this for concealer brush. It's the N14, and I'm gonna just press. And I'm going to kind of pre-blend, but not totally blend this out. I'm going to let it set like that for a few seconds so I can get maximum coverage from less product. And I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to pull it all the way past the brow. Really lift that eye. Do you see what that did? That immediately just lifted and pulled the eye up. Gorgeous. I don't always do shadow first. In fact, I usually do the full complexion concealer and then shadow, but I think I'm gonna start doing my shadow first because it is a subtle but impactful difference, you know? Like, it's just a subtle tweak that you can make and really change the entire look of your makeup. Every time I get my makeup professionally done, I usually get the eyes done first and then concealer last, or foundation and concealer last. So pretty. Oh my gosh. Okay, the under eyes, this combination of this concealer and the line blurring wrinkle filler, so good. So good. I honestly had just started using this product in the last week and I'm like blown away. It's so good, you guys. Oh, so good. Oh my God, the under eyes look perfect. Okay, I'm getting a little carried away. Okay, let's line the lower lash line. We're almost done, you guys. Thanks for sticking with me and hanging out. If you're still here at this point, let me know down below. Say, I'm still here, Lisa. Okay, so let's get into liner. Now, I'm gonna line with the pencil that I use to tight line. This is the Lunar pencil in the shade Copper. This is a really nice formula, you guys. It's very creamy, but once it sets, it stays in place. Now, I'm gonna keep the liner really, really concentrated to like the outer third. I am not taking this too far over. It's a pretty dark pencil, even though it's like a chocolate brown, it's still pretty dark. And I want the lower liner to be very, very soft. I'm gonna go in with the Nikki LaRose N12 brush. I love this brush. And I'm gonna pick up a little bit of the shadow that we used in the transition shade. So that first shadow that we went in, I'm gonna take a little bit of that on this brush, and I'm just gonna work it right over that liner that we created just to soften it and set it. I want the lower lashes defined a little bit, but I don't want a heavy liner there. I want all the attention to be on the lid and the eyeshadow on the upper lid that we just spent so much time creating. Now I'm gonna go in and set underneath the eyes with a little bit of powder. The reason that I went and did liner before setting the concealer is because I wanted that concealer to still be a little bit tacky so that it would grip that eyeshadow that I just applied. There's no right or wrong way, but I just wanted it to be have a little bit of a grip. Okay, I'm gonna do the tiniest bit of mascara on the lower lashes. You can skip this part if you want. If you have an issue with your mascara transferring or flaking, I would skip it on the lower lashes, but I just want to put a tiny bit. And this is the finished look. As you can see, the eyes look lifted, they look open, they look bright. We have created the illusion of having more lid space than we actually do by using eyeshadow. So I sure hope that you enjoyed this video and learned at least one technique, maybe two. If you did, please drop a comment down below and let me know specifically what you took away from this video and what you plan on trying at home the next time you do your makeup. Also, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you give it a like, if you would share it, if you'd make sure that your notification bell is on. It really helps let YouTube know that this video was helpful, which they'll then put it out to others and help it get more views. Thank you, and I really appreciate your support. And last, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out this one next. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I hope you have a beautiful day.